Her Majesty performs a host of opening ceremonies for the delighted crowds. Well, the Queen has successfully completed this morning's stage of her Golden Jubilee visit to the northeast. Hundreds of well-wishers and a hint of sunshine turned out for the Wearside leg of her tour. Kim Ingalls has the details.
Not about to be outdone by the exotic inhabitants of Sunderland's winter gardens, Her Majesty the Queen delighted onlookers with her pale turquoise outfit topped with a coffee-coloured hat. Taking a moment to view paintings from a Jubilee Day portrait competition, the Queen seemed to appreciate the efforts of the winners. Accompanied by the Duke of Edinburgh, the Queen took time to meet those who'd gathered outside as she took a stroll through the city's Mowberry Park. Old and young had gathered to cheer, wave their flags and deliver their floral gifts, some more traditional than others. Sweet music accompanied the Queen to her next stop, the Tyne-and-Wear Metro, where Her Majesty formally opened the new £97 million extension from Gateshead to Sunderland, cheered on by hundreds more Wearsiders.
Well, our reporter, Julie Bathroom, joins us now from the new Felgate Metro station on South Tyneside. Julia.
Thank you. Yes, I'm here at Felgate Metro station where the Queen has just disembarked from a metro train. She's now gone on to St Joseph's Primary School for a Jubilee garden party. I'm here though with Mike Parker from Nexus and Danny Marshall from the PTA, and they've just travelled on the train with the Queen. Did she seem impressed with the new system?
I think she was, and particularly Park Lane Station, which of course is a major interchange between buses and rail. She was impressed with the design of some of our stations and genuinely excited, I think.
I believe this is a bit of a revisit of the past for you.
It is. I was there 21 years ago when she opened the original metro, and I think I've been at most of the openings since then. And this was a great pleasure because I had to sit beside the Queen on the train.
We often hear that she has a particular fondness for the northeast. Do you think she was pleased to see this kind of development up here?
Well, I think she was, and we told her about pigeon craze and things like that, and she told us that her pigeon keeper was of Italian descent, and that he spoke with a Norfolk accent.
She also asked us questions about the football teams, so she was interested in seeing the Stadium of Light for the first time, and also she said that she'd actually been to St James's, so she obviously knows a bit about football.
And she also met some of the staff who work on the metro, particularly somebody who painted her train, I believe.
Well, a special surprise for her, which she was very pleased, I think, was that we've painted a Golden Jubilee train in gold, special design, and she met the guy who actually designed the train and one of the painters. So that was a very nice touch.
Mr Marshall, Mr Parker, thank you very much.
Okay.
The Queen's now moving on to the Millennium Bridge to open it there, and we'll be rounding up the rest of the day this evening. Back to you.
Thank you, and we'll be going back to the tour later on in the visit. And about half an hour ago, the Queen officially opened the Gateshead Millenium Bridge, from where Alex Watson reports.
Hundreds of people lined both sides of the Tyne to see the Queen officially open what is now one of the region's top tourist attractions. And even before the royal party arrived, there was plenty to keep them amused. Entertainment from local bands and choirs. There was also entertainment on the river itself, a display by the Sea Cadets and the Royal Marine Reserve, as well as a sail past of vessels representing the historic pride of the Tyne. At noon, the Queen was welcomed by the sound of the National Anthem, performed by the Felling Male Voice Choir. She then went on to operate the controls to tilt the bridge. Once it had performed its famous blinking eye movement, the Queen crossed the bridge to Newcastle, joined by the Duke of Edinburgh. She then performed the official opening to applause from both sides, before returning to Baltic Square and walking to the new Baltic Centre for Contemporary Art to attend a reception and give a speech celebrating 50 years of the North East. This afternoon, the Queen and Duke of Edinburgh will unveil a statue of the late Cardinal Basil Hume at St Mary's Cathedral, before going on to a gala concert at Newcastle City Hall later tonight.
Police investigating
the programme today with the Queen's Golden Jubilee Tour of the North East. Thousands of people welcomed her and Prince Philip as she opened the Millennium Bridge at Gateshead. Here's Sasha Harriman.
The Golden Jubilee arrived in the northeast of England to yet more crowds this morning on the second leg of the Queen's official tour of the country. All generations were there to welcome the Queen. And the bunches of flowers just kept coming. One lady was able to make a special thank you.
I was really, I didn't know what to say to her, but she did. She said, I see you've got your anniversary card. And I thought I was able to thank her. And that I'm very proud to do that. That turn over.
In Sunderland, she and the Duke of Edinburgh began with an official opening of the town's Winter Gardens, a new £3 million attraction which houses more than 1,000 exotic plants. The original was destroyed in the Second World War. She's also officially opened one of the region's most striking landmarks. The Millennium Bridge in Gateshead is the world's first rotating bridge, dubbed locally the Blinking Eye. Part of the new development on the waterfront, it's helped breathe new life into the area. The Queen walked the bridge, joining local people to celebrate. And in a little change from her usual royal transport, she also took a ride and opened the new £97 million Metro, joining Gateshead to Sunderland. There's been overwhelming support since the 14-week tour started last week in Devon and Cornwall, and people right across the country will get a chance to join in over the next few weeks as the Queen visits England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland in more royal transport. Official Jubilee Day is June the 4th, when there'll be a national service of Thanksgiving at St Paul's, and you'll be pleased to hear an extra long bank holiday weekend. Sasha Herriman, ITV News.
And that's the news. Next from ITN.
The Queen is in the northeast of England today on the second leg of her Golden Jubilee tour. Over the next 3 months, she and Prince Philip will visit all corners of the United Kingdom. The Queen is spending the next 2 days in the northeast. Her tour began in Sunderland this morning, and she will visit Newcastle later on. But Gateshead is where the royal train has stopped this lunchtime for the grand opening of the Millennium Bridge.
This is a celebration not just of the Queen's Jubilee visit, but of the regeneration of this old industrial quayside. Gateshead's £22 million Millennium Bridge, linking cultural and arts developments on both sides of the Tyne, is the world's only tilting bridge. The bonus of having the Queen here to open it brought thousands of people out along the riverside. Engines more powerful than the fastest sports cars swing it into action, opening and closing like a giant winking eye. People here are proud that the Queen has come to see the way the area has been transformed.
From my early days, this was something that we never thought we'd ever see here. It used to be very derelict, but now it's beautiful.
The bridge, the quayside, the redevelopment, really lovely.
In Sunderland, the Queen had a different mechanical experience, as she got on a special golden carriage of the Metro to mark the start of a new link. It's 22 years since she opened the original underground system here, and she enjoyed the novelty of this rather exclusive brush with public transport, travelling all of 4 stops. At the city's new Winter Garden, several thousand people were waiting to see her.
Thank you very much. Very kind.
The theme here, too, was the regeneration of one of the poorest regions of the UK. This half, alongside the museum and tropical gardens, has already attracted hundreds of thousands of visitors to the area, a real boost to the local economy.
Jenny, what did the Queen have to say in her speech this morning?
Yes, she's having lunch now and just making that speech at another of the great developments along this quayside. It's the Baltic, an art centre that's going to be the biggest centre for contemporary art outside London. And it was there that she spoke about the personality of people of the North, of their sheer dogged character. She said, you are and you always will be strong, vibrant, with a clear sense of identity. And she put that character down as one of the reasons for the economic transformation of this area. There was, too, a personal note. She thanked everyone for their support and their loyalty over the past 50 years of her reign. And also, as she did in the southwest, she thanked them particularly for what she called their many acts of kindness over the past 2 months, when, of course, she's lost her mother and her sister. So that's lunch is going on now. Then she's going to have a little rest on the royal train before a gala evening of music tonight over in Newcastle.
Jenny, thank you very much. And now it's time for the weather, and we go over to Alex.
Good afternoon. Gateshead's Millennium Bridge has been officially opened by the Queen this lunchtime. It's further recognition for what has rapidly become one of our best-known landmarks. And as ever, when Her Majesty visits the North turns out in strength to greet her. Carol Malier joins us now from the quayside.
Thank you, John. Yes, well, it's been quite a day so far down here at the quayside. The crowds had actually started gathering from about 8 a.m. today to welcome Her Majesty the Queen and Prince Philip as they opened the Gateshead Millenium Bridge. Now, they were amply rewarded. The Queen strolled across the bridge and actually carried out a pretty extensive walkabout, talking to as many people as possible, gathering flowers and posies and good wishes from the people as they went. But it's, of course, not the first royal engagement of the day. The couple also had a couple of very important events in Sunderland as well, as Roderick Stewart reports.
The crowds were out on Wearside this morning as the royal car pulled up outside Sunderland's Winter Gardens. Once inside, Her Majesty was greeted by local dignitaries and school children, and then given a guided tour of the gardens by the Council's Chief Executive, Colin Sinclair. The restoration of the Winter Gardens, together with work in the adjoining Mowberry Park, cost £13 million, with the money mainly coming from the lottery. The Queen then unveiled a plaque declaring the Winter Gardens officially open. After that, the Queen, accompanied by Prince Philip, went on a walkabout of Mowberry Park, a park originally created in the late 1850s, and back then it was the first park built in the northeast specifically for the public. This is where the royal party came face to face with all those who turned out with their flags to welcome them to Sunderland. There weren't just massive crowds in Sunderland, but also along the River Tyne, as the Queen then headed to Tyneside to the Millennium Bridge. The bridge, which cost more than £20 million to build, has been open to the public for some months, but this was to be its official opening, and everybody was eagerly awaiting her arrival.
We're happy and we're pleased, we're proud, absolutely delighted to be able to come.
This was truly to be a spectacular event, an armada of boats sailing under the bridge. At 12 o'clock, Her Majesty arrived in Gateshead, meeting more members of the public, and then the National Anthem. Her first duty here was to enter the control room on the Gateshead side of the bridge, to press the button which lowers the bridge back down. That allowed the Queen to begin her walk across to the Newcastle side, where more crowds awaited. The bridge has established itself since it opened to the public last year as one of the Northeast's best-known landmarks, and many have been looking forward to this day for some time, when the structure would be given the royal seal of approval. More flag waving and more meeting people. Then an about turn and the walk back over towards Gateshead, accompanied by the town's mayor, Joseph Hatton. Just past midway, the party stopped to unveil the plaque declaring the Millennium Bridge officially open, and also for a royal look at the view that's made the River Tyne so famous. After that, it was time for the Queen to leave the bridge. But what she'll be leaving behind are fond memories for many people who travelled from throughout the country to see this event.
Well, you saw some of the crowds there, and I actually spoke to one older gentleman in the crowd today who said that he remembers the Queen's grandfather opening the Tyne Bridge more than 70 years ago and felt that he should carry on the family tradition and come down here to see the Millennium Bridge officially opened as well. Well, the royal party are now inside the Baltic Centre for Contemporary Art, enjoying a rather sumptuous lunch, I'm sure. And before the Queen actually took her speech, she gave a speech and reminisced about some previous visits to the northeast.
Prince Philip and I have been regular visitors since we first came here together in 1954, when we visited Whitley Bay, Tynemouth, Wallsend, Newcastle, Jarrow, South Shields and Sunderland, all in one day. The pace of this visit has been a little less frenetic, but our welcome has been as warm as ever. And as always, I have been happy to have the opportunity to meet the people of Tyne and Wear. Over those 50 years, there have been enormous changes here. My mother, who had close family ties with the region, always spoke highly of the qualities of adaptability of the people of Northumbria. Today, I see tangible signs of the determination of all those within this region to create a new future, having shown a resilience to sustain each other during the period of change. For some in the rural communities of Northumberland and County Durham, you are coming out of an especially difficult period. And I know how hard hit those reliant on farming and tourism have been recently. From Sunderland to Hartlepool and the Tees Valley, the urban landscape has changed. But this has all been with a view to the future.
Well, I hope the lunch provided today by Gateshead Borough Council is just as memorable as some of those occasions. Salmon mousse, pork with caramelised apple and mashed potato, selection of vegetables, honey glazed grapes and vanilla sponge in a chocolate cup. Sounds rather nice, and quite a nice day to round off the visit here to the quayside, John.
Thanks, Carol. Well, later today, the Queen will unveil a bronze...
Well, earlier in the day, the Queen began her visit in Sunderland. Engineering was again the theme, as Her Majesty visited the city's showpiece Winter Gardens and the new Metro extension.
It was Her Majesty the Queen's first visit to Sunderland since 1993. Then she was here to mark the town becoming a city. Today her first stop was to the city's museum and new Winter Gardens. Over 500,000 people have already visited the attraction, but the royal visit marked the official opening. Housing over 1,500 exotic plants, the Winter Gardens is the centrepiece of the £13 million development of Mowberry Park. There the Queen found even more flowers, as, accompanied by the Duke of Edinburgh, she took time to meet those who'd gathered outside. Next stop on the royal visit was another official opening, this time of the new Sunderland extension of the Metro system, where Her Majesty left the royal car behind for a ride on public transport.
A special surprise for her, which she was very pleased, I think, was that we've painted a train, a Golden Jubilee train in gold, special design, and she met the guy who actually designed the train and one of the painters. So that was a very nice touch.
More crowds lined the route as the Queen travelled through 6 stops, giving Her Majesty a chance to sightsee.
She also asked us questions about the football teams, so she was interested in seeing the Stadium of Light for the first time. And also she said that she'd actually been to St James's, so she obviously knows a bit about football.
It was also a chance to meet old friends.
I was there 21 years ago when she opened the original Metro, and I think I've been at most of the openings since then. And this was a great pleasure, because I had to sit beside the Queen on the train.
In keeping with the reason for her nationwide tour, Her Majesty then opened a garden party in South Tyneside for children to celebrate the Golden Jubilee. Julia Barthram, North East Tonight.
The royal couple continue their Jubilee visits in Newcastle this evening. They'll be at the City Hall for a gala evening of music.
Two of the Queen's Golden Jubilee tour took her to the northeast of England today. She travelled on the Metro and officially opened that amazing pedestrian bridge over the Tyne.
Yes, she got a familiar Geordie welcome in Newcastle, a little too familiar in the case of a streaker. Here's Tim Rogers.
The Queen started her day like millions of other commuters, heading off to work, but in her case with a crowd outside, cheering her along as she officially opened the new Metro link in Sunderland. Accompanied by Prince Philip, the Queen's tour of the North East is the second regional visit she's made as part of her Jubilee celebrations. The highlight should have been a spectacle that today drew thousands. The new Gateshead Millenium Bridge, which the Queen came to officially open within sight of the famous Tyne Bridge, opened by her grandfather George V in 1928. This was a day for the River Tyne to show off with a display by Royal Marine Commandos. There's much pride here at new achievements after years of sometimes painful change. But as the Queen told civic leaders, the character of the people prevails.
You are and always will be strong, vibrant, with a clear sense of identity. Your passion for sport is a reflection of that energy. You know who you are and you know what you believe in.
The Queen's visit here is a celebration not only of the past, but a fresh hope and regeneration in the future. But there were also surprises. A streaker forced to the ground by police as the royal party arrived at the Catholic Cathedral. As the Queen was taking the covers off a statue of the late Cardinal Basil Hume, the police were keeping the covers on the streaker. He was forced to lie face down on the ground throughout the ceremony, later becoming the target of an angry crowd. This woman later approached the man to make her feelings clear. And so did the rest of the crowd, booing as he was taken away. Tim Rogers, ITV News, Newcastle.
And that's all for now. Trevor MacDonald will be here later.
30,000 people turned out in Newcastle and Gateshead today to greet the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh on the latest leg of their Golden Jubilee tour. And in Newcastle, apparently, the royal party had a close encounter of another kind. What do I mean by that? Well, let's talk to our royal correspondent, Jenny Bond, who's in Newcastle. Jenny, tell us all.
Oh, yes. Well, the Queen's due here, actually, at the City Hall in Newcastle very shortly for a gala concert, a Jubilee gala concert, and that's the final engagement of a very eventful day, which did include, I have to say, a streaker. But this afternoon, we were given rare access to the royal train, which, of course, Queen and Duke are using during their 3-month tour of the UK, which today brought them here to the northeast of England.
At work this afternoon on board the royal train, the Queen and her private secretary, Sir Robin Jambrin.
Do we think that this is a good idea? Do we not know what it's about?
No. It's here that the Queen is spending 16 nights and a good part of her working days during her Jubilee tour. It may not be outrageously plush, but the royal train is something of a contrast to the Metro, which the Queen tried out earlier today in Sunderland. No sweaty armpits in this carriage, though. It was all far too exclusive, and she appeared to enjoy this rare brush with public transport. Another rare, but rather less welcome brush was with a streaker, as the Queen and Duke drove to a later engagement in Newcastle. He bared his all as the royal roller passed by, and was promptly arrested as a result. At Gateshead, the crowds were a little more orthodox as the Queen arrived to open the city's state-of-the-art Millennium Bridge. It's a symbol of the regeneration of this industrial quayside, linking cultural and arts developments on both sides of the Tyne. It's also the world's only tilting bridge, and people here were proud that the Queen had come to see the way it's helped transform the area.
From my early days, this was something that we never thought we'd ever see here. It used to be very derelict, but now it's beautiful.
The bridge, the quayside, the redevelopment, really lovely.
And the welcome was the same everywhere, including this primary school in Jarrow, where little Katie Meehan, who suffers from a cystic growth problem, was chosen to hand the Queen a bouquet.
And tomorrow we're all off on another 6 stops around the northeast, and already the pace of this tour is proving a little confusing even for the Queen, who today in a speech told people she was very happy to be in the northwest, but she didn't seem to notice her slip up. Everyone else was too polite to mention it, and as for that streaker, well, he's still helping the police with their inquiries. Thank you.
I'm sure he is. Jenny, thank you very much.
Gateshead's now famous Millennium Bridge has been officially opened to the public by the Queen. The bridge has become one of the Northeast's best-known landmarks, costing more than £20 million. Today, thousands of people line the River Tyne to welcome Her Majesty to Tyneside. Carol Malia joins us now from the quayside. Carol.
Thanks, John. Well, it was about 8 o'clock this morning when the crowds first started arriving on both sides of the river here, excited to see not only the official opening of the bridge, of course, but the royal couple. Now, I spoke to one older chap on the other side, the northern side, the Newcastle side, who said he's carrying out a bit of a family tradition because he, in fact, saw the Queen's grandfather opening the Tyne Bridge more than 70 years ago. So it's a fantastic day for us, or it has been. Roderick Stewart reports.
The public were first allowed to walk across the Gateshead Millenium Bridge in September last year, but this was to be the official royal opening. This morning, the crowds began to gather on both sides of the Tyne early on, everyone eagerly awaiting the Queen's arrival.
We're happy and we're pleased, we're proud, absolutely delighted to be able to come.
On the river, with the bridge raised, boats sailed past one after the other, all part of this celebration. And at 12 o'clock, Her Majesty was here, greeted by some local dignitaries. Then there was the National Anthem. One of the Queen's first duties here was to enter the control room on the Gateshead side of the bridge, to press the button which lowers the bridge back down. That allowed the Queen to begin her walk across to the Newcastle side, where more people waited excitedly. The bridge has established itself since it opened to the public last year as one of the North East's best-known landmarks, and many have been looking forward to this day for some time, when the structure would be given the royal seal of approval. On the Newcastle side, there was more flag waving and the chance for Her Majesty to meet just some of the people who'd been desperate to see her. Then it was an about turn and the walk back over towards Gateshead, accompanied by the town's mayor, Joseph Hatton. And midway, the party stopped to unveil the plaque declaring the Millennium Bridge officially open, and also for a royal look at the view that's made the River Tyne so famous. After that, it was time for the Queen to leave the bridge. But what she left behind are fond memories for those people who travelled from throughout the country to see this event.
Well, the day unfortunately was slightly marred by the arrest of a streaker who apparently ran in front of the royal car outside the central station in Newcastle. Well done to that man, obviously very untalented. Well, hopefully it didn't give the Queen any indigestion though, after a wonderful lunch of salmon and pork. After you, gents, thank you, which she enjoyed at the Baltic Arts Centre. And before she actually took her seat, she made a speech and reminisced about previous visits to the North East.
Prince Philip and I have been regular visitors since we first came here together in 1954, when we visited Whitley Bay, Tynemouth, Wallsend, Newcastle, Jarrow, Southfields and Sunderland all in one day. The pace of this visit has been a little less frenetic, but our welcome has been as warm as ever. And as always, I have been happy to have the opportunity to meet the people of Tyne and Wear. Over those 50 years, there have been enormous changes here. My mother, who had close family ties with the region, always spoke highly of the qualities of adaptability of the people of Northumbria. Today, I see tangible signs of the determination of all those within this region to create a new future, having shown a resilience to sustain each other during the period of change. For some in the rural communities of Northumberland and County Durham, you are coming out of an especially difficult period, and I know how hard hit those reliant on farming and tourism have been recently. From Sunderland to Hartlepool and the Tees Valley, the urban landscape has changed. But this has all been with a view to the future.
But of course, it wasn't just this place that had all the fun today. The Queen was also on South Tyneside and Wearside, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later in the programme.
Thanks, Carol. Other news now, and today, Carol's down on the quayside where Her Majesty was earlier. Carol!
Yes, well, as you know, we're down at the Gateshead side of the quayside for now, but the Queen didn't actually start off the day here. She was in Sunderland, seeing where some of the £200 million that's been spent in recent years has actually gone, places like Mowberry Park and the Winter Gardens and Museum. Keith Akers reports.
The Queen's visit to Sunderland began at the city's museum and Winter Gardens. Accompanied by Prince Philip, she met winners of a Jubilee portrait competition and viewed paintings of her. The Queen had come to officially open the multi-million-pound centre, home to 1,500 exotic plants in an indoor subtropical climate. Bananas, oranges and lemons are among the plants thriving in the steel and glass rotunda. The Winter Gardens replaces the Victorian structure which was destroyed during a Second World War bombing raid. After officially opening the centre, it was time to sign the visitors' book, watched by staff peering into the 21st century glasshouse. Then it was outside into the refurbished Mowbray Park. The two attractions have cost £13 million of heritage lottery cash. Hundreds of well-wishers cheered the royal couple's walkabout, waving flags and presenting scores of bouquets. One of them was presented by 3-year-old Molly Pringle.
Gave us some flowers, and what did the Queen say to you?
And you had a photo taken with the Queen.
She said, I see you've got your anniversary card, and I was able to thank her, and I'm very proud to do that. Very proud.
So that's the anniversary card sent from the Queen?
Yeah.
She says, I see you've got your medals. She says, yes, ma'am. I'm very proud.
Mother said, Queen, as she walked past. So she came across and said hello. And the mother said, I know you used to live beside me. And she just smiled.
Many of the children wore their own crowns, made out of balloons. The man who made them presented the Queen with his own unique bunch of flowers. And minutes later, they could be seen being spirited into the Royal Rolls-Royce. The regal transport took Her Majesty onto the newly completed Park Lane interchange, where she was to take a rare trip on public transport, a metro train. The Golden Jubilee coach was painted gold to commemorate the Queen's 50 years on the throne. The royal journey was to officially open the £97 million metro extension to Sunderland. The Queen looked animated. After all, it's not every day she gets to travel on an ordinary train. Although not all ordinary trains are brand new, spotlessly clean, running on time, and have pictures of the Queen where advertisements are usually posted. Her Majesty alighted at Felgate in Jarrow, where hundreds of flag-waving children welcomed her. At St Joseph's Primary School there were more flowers. A special bouquet was presented by 6-year-old Katie Meehan from South Shields. A Children of Courage award winner, she teased the Queen a little before making her presentation, topping it off with a curtsy.
I said, good morning, Mum. I think it's going to be the best day of my life.
She's not very often anxious or nervous because she's quite used to publicity, but I do think she was getting a little bit nervous this morning, but she did a grand job, as we knew she would.
Her Majesty cut a special cake to open a Jubilee party for the 600 South Tyneside children.
I think this will be something that the children will not forget. I mean, I remember 25 years ago, the Silver Jubilee, taking children down to Gypsy's Green Stadium, and Her Majesty just drove around in her car. We didn't actually see her in person, but she's walked right amongst them, and everybody's had such a good view of her, and I think it'll be a lasting memory, a lifetime memory, but not just for the children, for us all.
Well, the Queen also unveiled a statue of the late Cardinal Basil Hume. Cardinal Hume was born in Newcastle in 1923 and never forgot his roots. Today's unveiling is believed to be the first time a monarch has